Hi, it's Michele Replogle, Coldwell Banker Realty. How are you doing this week? How are you doing mid-July 2022? There's a lot of news out there, and of course, none of it's good. Remember, if it bleeds, it leads. And I don't necessarily have good or bad news. This market update, I'm going to go over the statistics. I'm going to go over perspective, which I think is really important to have when you are kind of breaking down all the news that you see online, maybe here on your favorite news show, or that you hear from maybe the radio or podcasts. And, real estate is local. So I'm just going to give you the local July market update from my perspective, because that's really the only one that I really trust and that I have. So let's just get going. I'm going to start with statistics. I normally kind of jump in them after I kind of give this diatribe of what I'm seeing, but I thought I would start with the statistics. So first off, for this week, we have 54 new listings. That's down 14. We have 33 price reductions, and that's up 11. And I'm going to go back through what I think some of this stuff means. Pending and contingent is 30, only down 3. Transaction canceled 4. Sold 32. That's minus 7, but we're also kind of in the mid month. And as you know, if I've explained many times before, is that a lot of times closings happen at the beginning or the end of the month. For some reason, they just always kind of time that way. And we're mid-month, so you might see the sold numbers kind of go down a little bit, and then they kind of jump back up by the end of the month. And I'll give you a reason for that in just a second. I'll wind back to that. Expired and canceled listings is 10, and that's plus 5 from last week. So that's also an indication. And then active inventory, 316. We should be happy, right? I mean, super excited. That's like the best. We've only been hovering around 200 for a while, and that's just been really tough for buyers to not have a whole lot to choose from. But let's get back into the price reductions, 33. In a lot of my market updates, I say the amount of days on market that a property is on is an indicator of lagging buyer sentiment. And that's just when that house sits on the market for a while, or multiple houses sit on the market for a while. Then you can kind of get an idea of where the buyer is going. I don't have that actual number here, but when you look at a listing online, for instance, I was just talking with some sellers yesterday, and they said, well, if we go on at this price and then we mark it down, would we look bad? Would that give us a black eye? And I said, no, that gives you the impression to your buyer that you're a motivated seller and that you're paying attention. An example is when you see a listing on 50 days or more with no price reductions, oftentimes I, as an agent, and the public, the buying public, sees those numbers creep up, and they think, well, that seller is not paying attention. They're not aware of the market. They're not very motivated. I don't even know if I want to write an offer that I'm comfortable with, because I may not be able to negotiate with them. So why even try? And then move on. So don't be afraid of a price reduction, seller, because then you're just telling the buyer, hey, I really do want to move and I do want to sell this house. So come take another look. Pending and contingent is still pretty good. I mean, 2 weeks ago it was 33, and this week it's 30. So, that tells me buyers are still out there, and I'll touch on that in perspective in just a minute. And then for canceled transactions, that's actually not a whole lot. We've been looking at about 2 to 3 almost since the beginning of the year. So that would tell you it's not really the current interest rate. I mean, really 4. It might just tell you that buyers are a little unsure of the property that they made the offer on, or, just something just didn't work out. So I'm not sure if that number really tells us that the buyers are just done and they're out of the market. It's a good number to keep an eye on, but I don't know if 4 is actually the bellwether there. 32 sold. I was going to talk a little bit about why transactions close at the end of the month. We start them usually at the beginning of the month for some reason, run out the 30 days, and we close by the end of the month. But oftentimes lenders like to make their numbers on the last day of the month or close to it because their numbers are in month chunks. So you will have lenders pop up every once in a while and go, hey, you want to close early? We could close on the 29th. And everybody goes, yeah, of course. And that's why you'll see those numbers piling up. And our transaction closing, so the lenders have really figured it out. The appraisers are back in action. Last year, we had appraisers that were too busy. We had a lot retire because of COVID. I'm actually meeting more new appraisers out in the field, and these banks have figured out a way to get appraisers accepting their appraisal requests and getting those appraisals done. So we're probably, I haven't looked this number up, but I will tell you in my own experience or my own perspective is that the transaction set to close date from about 30 days is probably starting to age down. I would probably say an average is probably about 25 now because those systems aren't as backlogged. The lenders are not doing as many refis either, refinance, because the interest rates were so low last year. So when the interest rates were low last year, you had a bunch of buyers moving in, you had a bunch of home sellers refinancing, and then you just had this lock on both sides trying to get these transactions on the refinance side and the new buyer side, trying to get them closed. And it just really was very, very tense environment to be in. So right now we just have pretty much buyers. We don't have anybody refinancing. And so the lenders are able to handle that load better. The closing dates are actually a little sooner, and the whole lending process, honestly, from my perspective as a listing agent, has been so much easier. The lenders are very responsive. They know exactly what they need to complete the file. The appraisers are showing up on time. I'll tell you, most of my appraisers are always late. But this year, in the last couple months, bam, they've been there. Okay, expired and canceled. Now there's the number. Here's the number I think actually means a little bit more than the transaction canceled. We have 10 expired cancels, up 5 from last week, 2 weeks ago. That's a significant number. That's saying that listings that may either not, like seller goes, well, I didn't get my price, so I'm going to take it off the market. There's always that one. Are you that one, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? Or there's, it's not going to work because where I was moving isn't really available in my price range. And then there's we decided we're just not going to move. It's not our market. We just thought this is, and there's just the usual, it's not going to happen kind of thing. And then the active inventory, just go back through the list, it's really good. And there's a lot of buyers out there. So let me move right into perspective. I am a listing agent primarily at this moment. Now I work with plenty of buyers, which I think gives me a really good way to gauge the market for when I take listings, because I also know what's happening on the buyer side out there in the buyer market. Right now, I have a couple buyers. They're motivated. They want to move. They've found houses that they like. They make great offers and they get accepted. They're not afraid. They just know what they got to do. They're moving. Well, that number of 30 pending and contingent, that's the buyer. Now, as a listing agent, I have really seen a lot of activity except for one listing that's kind of sitting around a little bit. It's super cute. It just isn't getting traction that it really should. It might need a price reduction. But all my other listings, I had 2 that were on the market for less than a week, and they're both in contract. They were priced well by the sellers because my sellers are actually paying attention to the market as well, so pay attention to price. And then I have one that's gotten a lot of activity. It's had 4 showings in the last 2 days. That's not buyers leaving the market. I mean, that was agents with their buyers and really busy open houses. So I want to give the perspective of here in Santa Cruz County, we still have buyers looking. We still have motivated sellers paying attention to the market, properly pricing their property and getting offers, showings, second showings, getting the disclosures read and getting really good offers. So, I would think going into this market when I didn't have so many listings, I would think, wow, here's some indications it's slowing down. Well, honestly, it was me who was slow. I mean, I always have plenty of business, but I was slower. Then when I get a few listings and I'm out there in the market with buyers and sellers kind of going straight at it, The market isn't that slow. So here is my overall summary. This was a long one. Boy, I really went off. Between the statistics and my perspective, I would tell you where we're going is we still have plenty of buyers and they are still moving around in the market. They're probably looking at adjustable rate mortgages to get the payment where they want to be, and then they'll refinance later. Did you know that most people refinance their property within the first 5 years anyway? Most people refinance their home anyway after buying. There's always a better rate that comes along, or there was just a term, or maybe they need to take a little extra money out. It happens. So really, to be tied to this this percentage rate that's a little higher just to remain fixed may not be the way to go. But one of the ones I personally like the best is a 7 to 10 year fixed rate mortgage, because that is one that more than likely we're going to see a better interest rate down in the future. And then for some people, I do have a few buyers right now, I'm not really sure they're going to stay in the area for more than 10 years. So that refi may not even be necessary. So those were the statistics. That's my perspective. That's what I'm seeing. I don't see it slowing down a whole lot. Make sure you're identifying a motivated seller. Seller, make sure that you're identifying yourself as motivated. And I think everything right now is doing pretty good. Please subscribe to my channel. Oh my gosh, I forget to ask all the time. And please let me know your questions and contact me. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.